Head over to miniaturemarket.com where they have thousands of board games at discounted prices, and you can sign up for product alerts. Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. You're about to see my Allegro 1-minute overview and final thoughts. This is designed to see if this game warrants more of your time. If it does, just keep watching because then you'll see my full intro overview and final thoughts. However, if you don't want to be spoiled anything and you want to skip right to the full review, use the time index below in YouTube. Libertalia Winds of Galecrest is a tactical card game for 1 to 6 players where you'll be using different character cards and their abilities to gain doubloons, which will turn into points in your treasure chest. Players start with exactly the same cards and will play them secretly and then put them in order low to high. And certain abilities are going to resolve, like the Brute beating up the top person, which is the cook, they're gone. And going high to low, those characters are going to be able to draft different loot for that day. With some of them giving you lots of money at the end of the round if you still have it, other ones allow you to affect other players like discarding another player from that island. You can also play on a stormy side of the board that has much more meaner abilities. But you can even customize those to your group's liking by using these tiles as well, playing with the slightly nicer abilities even on the meaner board. Some abilities might gain you things like doubloons at the end of each turn, and some might get you some things at the end of the voyage, which is at the round. Of course, these will as well. You're trying to convert these doubloons into points and have the most points at the end of the game, at the end of 3 voyages. The card play of this game is amazing with all the different character abilities interacting with each other. The timing of those abilities, the way they interact with characters, and the loot tokens. Carrying over some of your cards to the next round, making your hand slightly more different each round than all the other players, even though you start with the same exact hand. Comboing card abilities and loot token abilities together, the way that you can change the loot token abilities to match your game group's desire. The reputation tie-breaking system's awesome. The game has a great arc that really ramps up. The replayability is basically unlimited. 2-player rules, that variant is fantastic. Gives you a I split you choose. The solo version works great. On the negative, there's no player aid, which could have been nice. It might be too chaotic for some, and it might be too mean for some, but this is a fantastic tactical card game. Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. Today, it's all about the pirates. No, not those ones on the water sailing around. Today, we're talking about the ones in the sky pirates, where they're gonna be going to an island and gaining loot while there. Today, we're taking a look at Libertalia, the Winds of Galecrest from Stone Meyer Games. This is for 1 to 6 players. It's a tactical card game. Let me show you how it's played. I'll see you on the other side. In Libertalia Winds of Galecrest, you're trying to get the most doubloons, which will turn into points into your treasure chest at the end of the game. You're going to be using different character cards, which have different levels of how powerful they are, but also have all sorts of different abilities to try to manipulate and gain doubloons. It's a beautiful production with a custom insert, with a place to store everything, including 1 section for each of the players. The game is played over 3 voyages, which are essentially rounds. And each of those voyages lasts a different amount of days, and each of those days you're going to be playing cards trying to get specific loot on that given day. And these loot are beautiful Azul-style tiles that come out of a nice bag. Each player has an identical set of cards of characters 1 through 40 in their specific color. One player is going to shuffle their deck and draw 6 cards. For example, maybe that player that shuffled the cards gets these 6 cards. Everyone else will get these exact cards from their own decks to add to their hand for the first day of this voyage. Then depending on what their strategies are for the loot for this day and possibly loot for the future days, they're going to play a card face down. Once everyone's selected a card, you reveal them and you place them on the island from left to right. You're sending your crew out to the island. Now, the numbers are going to go in ascending order, and you're going to be able to do the day ability on any cards in this order. For example, the Brute discards the rightmost, most powerful card right to this player's graveyard, which means they place it face down right here and it's no longer available to them, but there are cards in the game that allow you to get cards from your graveyard back into your hand. Will this one come up this game? You can't be sure. That player that got removed also gains reputation, which is a clever mechanism to help see who wins ties with more reputation to less reputation, but it's balanced by getting a certain amount of doubloons, which are essentially points, at the beginning of each of the voyages. That player was already the lowest, so they're going to lose a doubloon, but otherwise, if they weren't, they would just move down one, and everybody always updates. Backing up for a minute, why did this player play the cook, knowing that everyone could have played the brute? Well, they were gambling that they weren't going to do it because the cook, once each of the players in ascending order does their day ability, this was not a day ability, this one didn't have one either, then you go right to left from powerful to less powerful, doing any dusk abilities like this. And this one says, unless you first gain a hook token, gain a second loot token from the current day. Well, this player would just be able to select one of these tokens, but they were trying to try to get two of these before the other ones could get it, meaning this player was going to get left out to having none because there's only one of these per player at the beginning of the day. So this player was gambling that they were going to get two of these, but now, because the brute was there, they ended up getting none. So now, this top man is going to get the first selection because the cook was destroyed, so they'll pick one like this, and it's going to leave this brute to have two selections. They'll select this. What do these different tokens do? Well, it depends on the type of game you want to play. This is the calm board, and all of those different tokens do different things. For example, like the chest at the end of this voyage or round, you'd gain 5 doubloons. Or the barrel would give you 1 reputation on that tiebreaker track and gain a doubloon if you have it at the end of the round. The hook would allow you to keep a character in your ship, carrying it on to the next voyage, allowing you to play it in next round, or you can gain 2 doubloons. Where the saber will allow you to discard another player's character from the island. The relics are bad, they'd lose you 3 if you have them at the end of the round. The amulet will allow you to gain 3, and the map is like set collection. 7 doubloons if you have 2 of them, 12 if you have 3 of them. All of these are at the end of the voyage, which is essentially the end of the round. So for example, if this player knew that this one was going to be focusing on maps, they could have chosen this instead if this was here, allowing them to discard another player's character from the island, kicking the brute off before they're able to get what they really need. So not only the randomization of the tokens each round, the loot tokens, and the characters and where they are, all of that is the sort of randomness of the puzzle that comes together to make every game and every round feel different. And normally players will take their cards from the island and place them in front of them in their ship, and at the end of the round, if you have a night ability, it will enact. Like at the end of every round this voyage, they'll gain 4 doubloons, but then lose 1 for each character in their ship. So this is a card you kind of want there early because you're going to be benefiting more from that the earlier you play it. But other players might think that too, so it's a lot of trying to figure out who's going to do what, thinking, bluffing, double bluffing. This player lost their brute, didn't really get to use it too much. Sure, they knocked somebody else out, but they didn't even get a token this round depending on what the other players did. The next card they end up playing on the island might be the innkeeper, which will allow them to choose a character in their ship, return them to their hand. They might be able to play the brute again in a later round, or even a later day this voyage. This will continue for 3 more days in the first voyage. At the end of the voyage, players are going to be able to enact abilities with the anchor on it on their cards, like gain 1 doubloon for each barrel and each amulet and each chest token on your ship. So this person just got 3 extra coins just for this ability. Not to mention, many of the tokens are going to trigger at the end of the round as well. At the end of the round, you might have 2 cards left in your hand by default that will carry over to the next round. The one player that had the deck set up at the beginning of the game will take 6 more cards, tell everyone else what other 6 cards they're going to be bringing out. So over the course of the rounds, the hands that players have are still similar, but they're not exact depending on what players played. And in the second voyage, you'll actually have 5 days, and after the second voyage, moving to the third, you'll have 6 days. So the game has a good arc of getting longer and longer with more decisions to make throughout each of the voyages. Also at the end of each round, you're going to take all your doubloons and convert them to points in your treasure chest. But then you wipe all those doubloons and you get a new set depending on where your reputation is next round. And whoever has the most points in their treasure chest at the end of the third voyage is the winner. There's also a stormy board, which looks stormy, but the abilities are even more stormier than the calm board, making it a more devious style game. But you can also play in a customized uncharted version of the game where you can use either side of the board, but you can mix in certain tiles that will allow you to play on either the calm or the stormy version of that tile's ability to tailor the game to your group's liking. There's also a 2-player variant that uses a midshipman board, and the player whose character is just to the left of the midshipman has a loot token removed by their opponent. And if you're the only one to the left of that, you must put your character right next to it. Meaning if someone is higher than the midshipman and someone's lower, that lower player isn't going to get a choice because there will only be 1 loot token left at that point. That gives you lots of great decisions when trying to figure out what to leave for that player or not. There's also a robust Automa solo mode where a randomized card will come out as a Pilferer, which isn't a player but just acts as a card, but also depending on the tokens that are there for that day, that will select a specific card for the Automa. And then play will resolve as normal, but the cards have specific Automa abilities. And some of the tiles do as well to tell you what those specific loot tokens do in the solo game. Now, the original game of Libertalia came out 10 years ago in 2012, and I've loved this game. And just late last year, I did my top 100 games of all time in different videos, and Libertalia, the original one, made that list. I'll put the video that was in up above here so you can watch that. And I say that to say that I'm coming into this review with some biases of loving the original. Now, with that being said, this is the last time I'm going to reference the original game in this video, because this is a review of the new game. I'm going to be doing a separate video. For those that know Libertalia, I'm going to be doing a very detailed comparison, even down to a card-for-card comparison in a few days. So if you want to see that, make sure you go ahead and subscribe below and hit the bell for notifications to get notified when that video comes out. Because I realized that was 10 years ago when that game came out. And quite honestly, probably the majority of the people watching this video have not been a chance to play it because it's been out of print for so long. So I'm going to review this standalone right now as a game that had just come out of the vacuum on its own, but I'm going to do a big deep dive here shortly. So let's talk about Libertalia Winds of Galecrest. This game, let me first talk about the things I love about it. The card play of this game, of all the different character abilities, is just awesome. This game is all about playing the right time, the right character, at the right time, in the right moment, in the right position to get the right loot to do what you're doing with your strategy. And the very clever thing about this game is that you all start with the same hand of cards, but over the different rounds, depending on which cards players play and don't play, your hands will naturally sort of get a little bit more different. A little bit more different in the second round and a little bit more different in the third round. You still have quite a bit of overlap in that third round, but you've got to be paying attention to what cards people played before. If you're a card counter, you're going to do really well in this game. If you're not, you can still do well. But it's really the heart of this game and what makes this game so special is the card play and the abilities of all the different characters and the timing of those. You're trying to figure out when's the right time to play this character. Well, a lot of times that has to do with other characters that are in your hand. A lot of times it might have to do with how many doubloons you have at that time. A lot of times it might have to do with what loot tiles are out there today, tomorrow, the next day. All of that. You look at the beginning of the round, you look at your hand, and you look through all the abilities there, you look at the abilities for the loots, you look what's available, and you make a plan as to what to do. Now that plan is going to be thwarted, most likely, by other players. You're going to have to roll with punches, you're going to have to change your strategies as the round goes on, but you might have a plan as to what's going on. But the timing and the different things that trigger the abilities on these characters between tokens and other things and other players really makes this game shine. Now when you carry these cards over, it's such a brilliant thing because it's like some cards are very situational where it's like this card's gonna do something really great if this sort of thing is out there, right? But you might be like, this isn't a great card for this. Or you know what, this would be great to play early, but I also have another card in my hand right now that's even better to play early. So let me just play that one this round. I'll hold this one to next round, hoping that nobody else plays it. There's a special card out there. It's the... oh gosh, I can't remember the name of it. When you put it in front of you, and in the night phase, you're gonna get 2 coins if it's the only one out there. I think it's the not the necromancer, the wind. It has the wind something. I forget the name of it. And then but if anybody else has that card, it's gonna be they all get discarded. So it's like this it's a game of chicken essentially. It's a card game of chicken trying to figure out. You're thinking what players are gonna do. And then they're like, well, I know that they think I'm going to do this, so I'm going to do this. There's a lot of sort of like head faking, double bluffing. I think you're going to do this. You know I think I'm going to do this, so I'm going to do the opposite. There's a lot of the head games going on in this game. That's what makes it so special. The comboing. When you're comboing the card abilities and the loot abilities, and you're doing certain things to, oh, I'm going to do this, and I get a hook, and I get to bring this guy back on my ship for the next day because that's going to allow me to do this. It's just, there's a lot of chances for comboing here with both abilities and the characters and the loot tokens and putting those together. I love that the loot token abilities can change each game. You can play just verbatim as the calm, where it's a little nicer, it's actually a lot nicer, or you can flip the board over and play on completely the stormy mean side, but you can change it. You can do it, customize it. For example, the calm side, the hook, allows you to, instead of taking 2 doubloons for that at the end of the round, you can discard it to keep somebody in your ship for next voyage when normally they're gone. You might have someone that gets you a lot of coins, like the carpenter gets you 10 coins at the end of the round, right? You might want to keep him there, but in the nice version, in the calm version, the saber doesn't kill somebody in someone's ship. It kills somebody who's also on the island. So it's a little easier to make powerful combos in there. So for me, personally, in my group, we like, if you're going to play with the hook that brings people back, keeps them on your ship, like the calm version, we like making sure that we play with the stormy version of the saber, which allows someone to be able to kill that character more easily, because I think there's only one card in the deck, it's the gunner, that can kill somebody else's person on their ship. So this like helps balance that out. Otherwise, sometimes some of the combos can a little bit run away from each other. But that's just what we found. And you might find something different that you like. The ability to be able to change the abilities as to which side you want, to customize the game for the best abilities that you want for your group for that day is such an awesome thing here. The reputation system for the tie breaking is awesome. It's brilliant. It tells you how many doubloons you get at the beginning of the round, which is balanced in that way. And it's not like great reputation's always good, because yes, it's better because you're going to win the tiebreakers, but you're getting less doubloons at the beginning of the round, and there's a handful of cards that do cooler things if you're to the left of people. Like if you have less things, some of the cards are cool. Some of them are really good when you're on the top. You get all the way to the top of reputation, you play the bandit, you go down all the way, you get 5 doubloons for going all the way down. That's pretty cool, but now you can start playing the cards that are better for bad reputation. Like the smuggler, who steals a loot token before anybody else gets to take one, and if you're lower on the reputation track and there's a bunch of people tied, you're gonna go first because the smuggler is better with lower reputation. It's absolutely brilliant how reputation is generally good, but not always. It depends again on the tokens, on the cards, all this sort of stuff. It's such a brilliant system. It's great for tiebreakers, but great for balancing doubloons and for abilities on the cards. The game has a great arc to it. It starts where you just have 6 cards, not too many to think about, but each round you're getting 6 more cards, but you're not spending all the cards. So you're slowly building up your hand to be larger and larger with more and more choices. It really is a great arc, is getting in a little bit easier and making the game get a little bit more thinky as the game goes on, once you've really sort of understood it and figured things out. Love the arc here. The replayability and variability is off the chart. I was saying in the last game of this that I played that I think this is some of my favorite games are the ones that have like unlimited replayability baked into the design, and a lot of those tend to be like very puzzly, abstract style games where just the variance and the randomness of setup and the randomness of certain things just makes every game different. Every game's a puzzle. This is like that too, because of, again, the loot tiles being able to be what you want, the randomized way that those loot tiles come out, the randomized ways that the cards come out, and the way that they interact with each other and the things. This game, I think, has unlimited replayability and variability in it. Absolutely love it. Plus, you have 40 characters, which means you could play the game twice, back to back, and have one person shuffling the deck to figure out what characters you're going to do, and basically go through that deck, and you can go through the deck entirely with 2 plays in a row and still have some cards you haven't even seen yet. That's awesome. And it doesn't matter if you have, because again, the way that the characters mix and mingle with each other, unlimited replayability in this game. Has a 2-player rule set, which works really good. The midshipman works awesome. It basically takes a 2-player game and turns it into like a little bit of a I split you choose mechanism. If you're both to the left of the midshipman, it's like, oh, well, the player who's picking last is like, I'm gonna remove something, I'm gonna split it, but you get to choose first. It's like absolutely brilliant. Of course, if one player plays someone higher, the person on the below is going to get absolutely screwed. But it has like this I split you choose, which is a mechanism I love. It makes the 2-player game so good in this game, so good. I have played the Automa solo version, and that works well too with both the Automa player and a pilferer that sort of randomizes some things. But you can look and you can see what the loot tile distribution is. You pretty much can tell what they're gonna take, but you gotta figure out what you wanna do. I'm not a big solo player in physical games, but if you are, know that this has Stonemaier sort of robust solo mode there, and it works well. The custom insert, I took this game down to a cafe and I had it in my bag, and it was the only game in that bag, so it was flopping around back and forth. I got there and it was a good test to see how well this insert did. None of the cards moved, none of anything moved. It all was perfect when I got there because of the insert and the way the plastic top and the way the board fits. None of the cards spill. Great job in the insert. Those are the things I love about the games. The things that I would that aren't quite as good. Number one, there's no player aid. Granted, the ability tiles are on the board, the abilities, and they have tiles. So if you have a second person that's new, you can actually put those tiles in front of them, and they have that. That takes up quite a bit of table space. I would have really liked, there's one little player aid, it's for the solo version, it's one little card, it's all it would have needed to be. Have the calm side on one, the stormy side on the other. Granted, if you're playing with the Uncharted mixed, it probably wouldn't be as useful, but just have one little card so that you don't have to keep looking over at the board, just seeing what those abilities are. For new players, that would have been good. I wish they would have put it in a player aid for that. The game can feel too chaotic for some. If you're the type of person that wants to plan something, have this great plan and just watch it run, this probably isn't the game for you, because your plan is going to get thwarted by something else that somebody else is going to do. It's just going to happen. If you can't roll with the punches and be tactical and change strategies depending on what people do and if they throw wrinkles in your plans, if you don't like that, this probably isn't the game for you. Also, the game can be too mean for some. Now, with this calm version, it's a lot nicer. There's really only one mean ability there. Of sabering and killing somebody who's already on the island, and that's pretty bad, and that might be too mean, but it's way nicer than the other version. Also, there's some characters that can mess with other people. If you don't like being affected by other players' decisions, sometimes meanly, even on the nice version, this also probably isn't the game for you. However, if you don't mind that and you like it and you're going to lean into it, you're going to love this game. For all those reasons, this game's amazing. It is absolutely sticking around in my gaming library. And so that, I'm going to give it a Saxophone Serenade. So let's hit it. Game Toppers not only transforms your existing table to a high-quality gaming solution, they now offer full leg kits and dining cover solutions for the full table application. Paired with their amazing, thematic, premium stitch edge mats from noted board game artists like Vincent Dutray, collapsible cup holders, and really cool accessories, it's a complete system that upgrades every game you play. Go to GameToppersLLC.com or click the link below.